Something strange is happening across the world. People are having fewer children than ever before, and the trend is starting to reshape entire countries. In countries like South Korea, Japan, China, Germany, and even the United States, birth rates have fallen far below the levels many governments once expected. In some places, populations are already shrinking. Schools are closing, rural towns are emptying, and communities are getting older every year. Experts warn that this could become one of the biggest challenges of the 21st century, not because the world has too many people, but because many countries may soon have too few young people. So why is this happening, and what does it mean for our future? For most of human history, populations grew. Families were large, and children were often seen as both a necessity and an investment in the future. In agricultural societies, children helped support the household. They worked, cared for relatives, and became the next generation that kept the family going. But over the last few decades, something changed. As countries became wealthier, more urban, and more developed, birth rates began to fall. Today, more than half of the world's countries have fertility rates below the level normally needed to maintain their populations over the long term. In simple terms, many countries are no longer producing enough children to replace their current population. No country illustrates this trend better than South Korea. It is wealthy, advanced, highly educated, and one of the most technologically connected societies on Earth. But South Korea also has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. In some years, the average woman has fewer than one child. Demographers warn that if this continues, South Korea's population could shrink dramatically over the coming decades. So why are so many people choosing not to have children or delaying parenthood until later in life? Many young Koreans point to rising housing costs, intense competition, long working hours, and the financial burden of raising a family. For many people, having children does not feel like a natural next step. It feels like a major financial risk. Housing is one of the clearest barriers. In major cities, young adults may spend years saving before they can afford a stable home. Education adds another layer. In countries with intense academic competition, parents often feel pressure to spend heavily on tutoring, private lessons, and exam preparation. Then there is work. Long hours and demanding careers can make it hard to imagine raising children without sacrificing health, time, or professional progress. For women especially, the cost can be even higher. In many societies, motherhood still brings career penalties, unequal expectations, and most of the childcare burden. South Korea is not alone. Japan has struggled with population decline for years, especially in rural areas where young people leave and older residents remain. Across Japan, some towns are becoming quieter every year. Schools merge, shops close, and entire communities wonder who will be left in the future. China is facing a similar challenge. After decades of rapid growth and strict population control, the country is now dealing with falling births and a rapidly aging society. For governments that once worried about overpopulation, the concern has completely reversed. Now they are worried about having too few young workers. The reasons go beyond economics. Modern life has changed dramatically. People spend more years in education. Careers often come before starting a family. Relationships happen later, marriage is delayed, and priorities are different from previous generations. For some, the decision is financial. For others, it is personal. And for many, it is both. The consequences of population decline could be enormous. Fewer workers means fewer people paying taxes, building companies, staffing hospitals, and supporting the economy. At the same time, more retirees need pensions, healthcare, long-term care, and public support. That creates a difficult equation. Smaller generations must support larger retired populations, while governments try to keep services and economies functioning. Schools can be affected first. When there are fewer children, classrooms shrink, teachers move, and some schools no longer have enough students to stay open. Then the pressure reaches universities, housing markets, labor markets, and entire regions that depend on young families to remain alive. Governments around the world are already searching for solutions. Some offer baby bonuses, tax breaks, paid parental leave, and childcare support. Others look toward immigration, hoping that new workers and new families can slow the demographic decline. But so far, no country has fully solved the problem once birth rates fall very low. Money helps, but it does not automatically change how people experience modern life. For decades, the world worried about having too many people. Now, many countries are facing the opposite problem. A future with fewer children, fewer workers, and aging populations is no longer just a theory. In some countries, it is already beginning. The question is no longer whether this trend is happening. The question is what happens next. And perhaps the biggest question of all is this: will future generations choose to have children at all?